Okay guys, I'm not sure I'm even gonna make a video out of this because this thing has actually probably destroyed my soul. I got a 2005 Holiday Rambler Navigator, and it's got a little bit of a slide problem here. I don't know if you guys can see, this is sticking out, but the front is flush. So we go inside, we can see what's going on. Alright, so this is actually a HWH slide out system. It's hydraulic. And it's a lateral arm. No, not a lateral arm. I think they're calling it an X-Arm. So this is the arm model AP27707. And if we look past here, we'll see a chain. And this drive chain is what actually pulls the slide in and out. That's pretty interesting. The cylinder is actually mounted up. So see if I can't see it right there. That's the cylinder rod that I'm pointing at. It hooks up to the chain right there, and if you'll notice, the chain is broken. And the pins that mount the chain are bent, and I didn't notice that when I ordered the chain, so I had to rush overnight those pins. And the little copper rivet that actually holds this chain together broke. Last time my customer was using it, or the owner was using it, he kept finding broken little plastic rollers. And those rollers are kind of what helps keep that chain going up and down smoothly. So let's take a look at that chain. So here's a chain right here. They're calling it RAP 91659. 95. Of course, this isn't the same chain for every one of these types of slides, so that part number doesn't help too much. You need to order it off the actual slide number. So this is like some industrial level crazy chain. It's not like a bike chain. It's stiff and it's strong. Put that right there. So it's an ingenious design, I guess. So it pulls just like a normal chain, but because of its design here, it also pushes. And that's the chain. That's what I have to replace. It bolts on the top. It's got the two pins in the middle. Give me a second. So this isn't a common part to change out. In fact, I don't think I've ever had to change this part out. Definitely I've seen these rollers broken, but the slide never seems to have a problem. But on their last cross-country trip, this slide got stuck out. He had to actually lift the slide up as he was bringing it in. I just ran it out 2 or 3 inches when I took a look at it and tried to run it back in. That's when one of the chain links broke. So what I'm going to have to do is tear this slide apart just to get access to it, because they're always positioned in a way when they use this slide out to maximize the available space, which means they're packaged really, really tight. So I don't know if you guys saw where it was mounted. Let's take a look. So that's the passenger seat up there. This is the passenger front, and this is the galley. So there's a small little, call it a foot space behind the slide and underneath this cabinetry right here. So the slide mechanism is right back here. So I'm going to take this fascia out of the way. I might even have to take this cabinet apart in order to get better access. But it's a little bit easier since the chain's broken, so I can get it disconnected pretty easily. So I thought it might be easier, so we understand what's actually going on, to take a look at the front one. This is behind the curtain. So this is the front arm, where everything's really easy to get to, as you can see. I'm not reaching over a countertop and in between a little cubby hole. So if I were to operate the slide out, you can see that's the chain hooked up to this arm right there, and it's hooked up to the cylinder rod right there. So if I were to operate it, it's going to pull down, so passenger slide out, and it pulls it down. See that? And of course, when I go ahead and retract it, it pushes it up because that chain can actually be pushed. So that's how the slide's supposed to work. And I'll just give you an overview of where I'm at. That's the passenger seat right there, and that's behind the passenger seat. That's why there's a curtain here, because these are definitely a pinch hazard. That keeps your fingers out of the way. The back side over there, it's hard to get your fingers back there. I guess that's the logic. Okay, so this cylinder, I did notice you can pull it out a little bit away from the wall, and there's a bolt right there that goes through the other side. So if this was fully or retracted just a little bit more, I couldn't get access to that. So you need to take that bolt out, pull out the chain, and then I'll go from that point. Alright, so there it is. I had to make a special socket, take a 7/16 deep well and grind it down quite a bit just so I could get on the back side of this arm right here to hold the bolt head, because the hole on the other side isn't this wide, so I can't get a socket in there. Even a 1/4 inch socket was still too wide. But getting that on there, I can hold the bolt and then take the nut off. Otherwise, it was all just spinning. We'll see how that works. You probably can't see anything. So I got the nut off. I'm just going to try to push the bolt out at the same time. Alright, so there's the bolt. 7/16. Doesn't appear to be bent or anything. So that's good. The chain's loose now. Let's see if I can't pull this thing out. A little concerned why there's tape on that. Ooh, I would have lost that. Don't lose that. That's why there's tape on that chain. It holds that spacer on there. That's important. Don't lose that. Maybe it'll come out. Well, don't drop it like that. Okay, go get that. Alright, so I wasn't supposed to drop it, but I can just get it right here. In fact, I think you can see the remnants of that rivet that broke off. Wow. Here's the chain. I thought there was going to be a lot of broken rollers on it based on what I saw and what they were handing me, but looks like there's only 3. And it looks like it's been hanging up right about there and there and there. So I know I see a lot of these with broken rollers, but I guess if it's just one, it's not that big of a deal. If it's 2 in a row, apparently it's a really big deal. And if it's 3 out of 4, it's a fantastically big deal. You can see this one's breaking and that one's breaking. So it was just a matter of time before all this was going to happen. So it's a good thing they stopped running their slide out. Alright, so I got the chain off, but there's still the last link locked to the cylinder. It's got the 2 pins, but they are bent really quite well. I don't know if you guys can see that better from any angle. There's a little bit better angle. It's really bent. So I'm not going to be able to push it through very well. I think I'm going to have to cut them off. So I have to cut them off carefully without damaging the cylinder rod. So wish me luck. There's not a lot of room for what I'm trying to do. So I can get this top one fairly easily. The bottom one, because my countertop is in the way, might be more of a difficult task. I'll give it a shot and let you guys know. Well, I did manage to get those sides cut off. Now I just have to try to find a way to wedge this off. There's just not a lot of room to work in here. So short of going down there, disconnecting the hose, and disconnecting the mount. Mounted with a nut at the bottom of the cylinder into that cradle down there. And there's 2 hoses. I'll still have to take that nut loose to hook up this chain. But if I can do this without releasing hydraulic pressure, that'd be the best, because I'll make a big mess in here or outside. Usually with hydraulics, once you actually make a mess, it gets a lot easier. It's always not trying to make a mess that makes it so hard. Alright, well, I haven't had much success getting to that bottom one. I cut off the back side just so it's not in the way. So what I think I'm going to have to do, before I can go much further, is at the bottom of the ram, or the cylinder here, is something that's not in focus. I can get the link on the cylinder, but I can't connect the cylinder to the slide in this position. So I think I'm gonna have to go with my original gut and take the cylinder out and make a mess. All right, see that bolt sticking down? That's the adjustment for the slide out. I got to release that jam, then force that cylinder up. That'll get me in line with the hole. So I just need to mark that because I don't want to change the adjustment. So I'll mark that and then raise it up. So I've traced out which valves it go to on this block here. It's going to be these two solenoid valves, so I'll retract that cylinder as much as I can. Then I have to bleed out the pressure at these valves here, just by opening up that 1/4 inch nut right there. That'll bleed out the pressure, so at least when I crack the lines inside, I'm not spraying hydraulic fluid everywhere inside. I'll get some rags under there. It's just going to be really hard to get access to those lines that are way back there. Here's my progress so far. I've got the lines disconnected and capped. I got the mounting bolt down here completely disconnected. So now I can reach in here and touch the cylinder. Up and down, I should be able to remove it. Okay, so I have the slide out even, 4 inches sticking out here and 4 inches in the back. If I come inside and I count the rollers on this one from the cylinder, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back here, if I count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's pretty close. I gotta say, what I'm mostly concerned about was this new chain seemed to match perfectly with the old one, but the old one, when I took out, still had a link that I had to get off the cylinder. So I'm concerned that this is going to be a little long, or a little short. So I don't know if I get 2 links off the other one and then extend this one out. And that seems like what I should be doing. All right, so I've counted 4 times now. So with the 2 linkages right here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 pinholes. But when I count here, I only have 20. So I do need to add a link here. I don't know why they would do this to me, near as I can tell. So the ones that fell off are all buggered up. So I'll have to cut off some good ones. Probably the next set right here. That's what I'm going to do. Alright, so currently this is what I've come up with. I removed the entire cylinder out. I think trying to hold the cylinder with one hand and put the pin with the other hand on the chain at a weird angle wasn't going to get me anywhere. So I'm going to start with the chain here, get that all pinned through, and then hopefully try to feed that end back up and put the bolt in. Then mount the cylinder, then hook up the hoses, then adjust the slide out. Then put everything back together. I really hope it works out easily. What I can say for sure is this was a lot easier to do on a bench here. So I don't want to lose this. So I'm going to take this back off again. And I think what I need to do is really lube this chain up so it bends and moves a lot better. Because I think that's really fighting me. Alright, if I have any recommendation, it's to never work on these slide outs and have somebody else do it. That was not a fun job. That was actually, I'm going to say, one of the worst jobs I've ever done. I'll try to explain what I did in hindsight. Once I got the cylinder pulled out, I was able to put the chain on really easily. So it's the way to do it. I knew it was the way to do it, but I was trying to do it without pulling the cylinder because I didn't want to make a mess, like I said earlier on. So with the cylinder, chain on the cylinder, you can feed the chain back up the opposite way and bolt it into the arm. All right, so with the chain on, you can feed the chain up with the cylinder coming out at an angle and sliding it all back in. You can put the bolt on, but then you have to have the cylinder fully retracted to do that. The problem with this cylinder is that it actually has a brake built into it, so it won't retract. Even if you were to hook it up to a hydraulic jack and try to compress it, it's not going to compress so easily. You'll just break the cylinder. So what I had to do in order to make that work was go out front to the generator. So the generator slide has one cylinder on it. I disconnected the lines to that cylinder and hooked those lines up to the cylinder I'm trying to retract. And then I just ran the pump to retract that cylinder. Now, don't forget that your lines inside are actually disconnected. So even if the valve is closed, HWH is very smart, and they have pressure on both sides of these lines. So you need to make sure you cap off your lines up here. I don't know what it is with my caps. Here. So I just used a union with a cap on it. You know, one for each line. That'll cap it off. And then once the slide or that cylinder is retracted, you can put it into place, put the bolt through right there. Then you need to put the cylinder in there. You can extend it manually, really slowly. And then once it's extended, you have to hook up the bolt, put it into place, and hook up your hoses. You might actually have to hook up the hoses, then put the bolt on. It's really quite difficult how they made this all work. See if we can't see it over here a little bit better. So these are the hoses right here, and they're right behind this bar. That's why you have to bring that cylinder out and then tip it into place and then extend it down. This is the bolt right there that actually mounts the cylinder. But if you'll notice, these fittings are behind this crossbar right here. So you'll have to adjust this bolt so you have enough slack to get access to the fittings, to hook up the fittings, then adjust your bolt back up, tighten everything up, and then you can check it for leaks in operation. This bolt right down here is the only way to actually adjust this slide out. So you have two jam nuts, one on top, one on the bottom. The easiest thing to do is run the slide out halfway out. Loosen up this bottom jam nut because you can't get to this one very easily because the hoses are in the way. Once you loosen that up, you can run the slide in or out and then back this nut quite a bit. Then run it the opposite way and you'll actually force this nut or this entire bolt up. You can tighten up this jam nut by hand and then run it back down again and then tighten up the lower jam nut. And so that'll adjust the slide out room in or out just a little bit. But that's your only real adjustments on this slide out. All right, so here we are. Work's all done. How do I put this? So I'm going to just show you how this works real fast. This slide out, the cylinder is hooked up onto that chain. It pulls this chain, pulling this X-arm to extend the slide out. So when the room is retracted, the slide out is extended. Right? When the room's retracted, the cylinder is extended. When this room is extended, the slide room is retracted. So that's why these systems are complicated to begin with. I'm going to do a run through on what was all entailed in changing out this chain. I'm going to at least operate the slide out so you can see it working. So here we go. See it pulling the chain there? And we'll go back in one more time. So there's the slide out, it's working. And there's the new chain that I installed. That is not a fun job. At any rate, I hope you enjoyed watching that. I did not enjoy doing it. I didn't enjoy filming it, and I had quite an emotional breakdown. Thanks a lot. I hope you guys see this, because that means that I got it done. Alright guys, it's been a miserable experience. I do have the bolt back in. I have the cylinder hooked up to the chain. With help, I was able to do this. So now I just have to push this back in, extend the cylinder somehow, and hook it back up. I'm not sure how I'm going to do all of this. Alright, so if you ever feel like the world's against you, don't worry. It's against me mostly. So the chain, these ears have to be cut down. Maybe a 1/4 of an inch at the top, otherwise it won't fit in the bolt holes. So that was quite the struggle. I did manage to get the chain put in there. I guess it's not being too difficult. I said too soon, huh? So there it is, coming through. Alright, well, I got that on there. That was a lot more work than I was planning on it being too. I don't ever recommend doing this job. If I were you, I would never do this job.